As we progress from generation to generation, it's no secret that the power level of Pokemon is getting higher and higher. Base stats are getting higher, abilities are getting better, base power of moves are getting higher, and all of these are coming with little to no drawback. Some of these Pokemon have unique attributes or a combination of attributes that make it almost feel like cheating to use. So in this video, I'm going to discuss what I consider to be the biggest cheaters in all of Pokemon. What I'm considering a cheater Pokemon is one that has access to a certain ability, move, typing, base stat, or combination of the four that allows it to completely ignore parts of the game, whether that be on offense, defense, or both. While most of these Pokemon I'll be talking about are considered good, some of them I would say lean more on the side of being gimmicky, meaning that they can catch your opponent off guard if they are unprepared, but with the right counterplay, they are very exploitable, something else I will be discussing for each entry. I will also be discussing if these Pokemon were responsible for getting any mechanic changes between generations or game patches, or if I feel that they should have a mechanic change due to their cheating behavior. With all that being said, let's look at what I consider to be the biggest cheaters in Pokemon. Urshifu has been a massive cheater ever since it was introduced in the Isle of Armor DLC of Sword and Shield. Since you have to pay an extra $29.99, Urshifu gets some special treatment. As a legendary Pokemon, it has great base stats, but its stats aren't what make it a cheater, rather its signature ability and signature moves, something you should be quite familiar with if you'd followed Pokemon in the last two generations. Urshifu's signature ability, Unseen Fist, allows its contact moves to hit through Protect. Do you know how many moves in the game hit through Protect? 7. Do you know how many of Urshifu's moves hit through Protect? 34, which is how many moves it learns that make contact. Urshifu's signature moves are dependent on its form, which by the way it has two of, with Single Strike form getting Wicked Blow, and Rapid Strike form getting Surging Strikes. Wicked Blow is a 75 base power, 100% accurate, physical Dark-type move, while Surging Strikes is a 25 base power, 100% accurate, multi-strike physical Water-type move that hits a guaranteed 3 times. These moves also have the additional effect that they always land a critical hit. Do you know how many other moves in the game have a guaranteed crit chance? 3. Frankly, Urshifu does not play the same game that everyone else does. If you want to protect yourself from it, you can't. It hits through Protect. If you want to raise your defense to reduce its damage output, you can't. It crits through those buffs. If you want to lower its attack to reduce its damage output, you can't. It crits through that. If you want to set up a Reflect to protect yourself and your party, you can't. It crits through that too. If you want to know which form it is in a closed team sheet battle, you can't even do that. The team preview in online battles does not differentiate between Urshifu's two forms. Imagine if you couldn't tell if an opponent had a Life Orb Sheer Force Landorus Incarnate or a Choice Scarf Intimidate Landorus Therian. That would be broken. Now I know Landorus's form difference is more impactful to the way it battles competitively than Urshifu, but we should still have different icons for a Pokemon with different forms, or add an open team sheet option of some kind to the official in-game ladder. With Dynamax in Generation 8 as the main gimmick, status moves turned into Max Guard, a move that allowed you to protect from almost any move, even some of those that normally hit through Protect. But with no Dynamax in the game anymore, there is no way to protect yourself from Urshifu's attacks. With how dominant Urshifu is in Gen 9 VGC, I'm shocked that it wasn't given any significant nerfs. Sure, the base power of Wicked Blow dropped 5 points, but that's not going to make a big difference. If I were to make some nerfs to Urshifu to bring it back down to earth, I would either make it so that Unseen Fist makes contact moves deal half damage through Protect, or make Wicked Blow and Surging Strikes high critical hit ratio moves instead of guaranteed critical hit moves. For the next entry, we have the other Sword and Shield DLC cheater, Calyrex. Calyrex in its base form is obviously not used and is not a cheater Pokemon by itself. What really makes it a big cheater is when it uses the Reigns of Unity key item to fuse with either Spectrier or Glastrier. This combines the typing and base stats of Calyrex and the horse it rides, giving it absolutely busted base stats, even by legendary standards. What really puts this Pokemon over the top though, is its signature abilities and moves. Calyrex in its rider forms gets the ability As One, which literally just combines two abilities in one, Chilling Neigh and Unnerve, or Grim Neigh and Unnerve. Unnerve makes the opposing side unable to consume any held berries as long as Calyrex is on the field. Chilling Neigh is just a rename of Moxie, and Grim Neigh is just a special attack version of Moxie. These two abilities on their own aren't anything crazy, but the fact that Calyrex is just able to combine them like nothing in its rider forms with no drawback is ridiculous. The signature moves the Calyrex forms get are also absurd, both being 120 base power, 100% accurate, no drawback, spread damaging stab moves of whichever type the horse is, being special for Shadow Rider and physical for Ice Rider. The only nerf this Pokemon received between generations at all was the loss of 10 base power to Glacial Lance, since it was previously 130 base power. Now, I didn't play much Sword and Shield competitive. In fact, I never actually bought the Sword and Shield DLC, but I've played and followed plenty of Scarlet and Violet to see that these Pokemon are straight up cheating. Reduce the base power or accuracy of their signature moves. Reduce their base stats by like 10 or 20 in attack and special attack. Get rid of As 1 so that it's only Grim Neigh or Chilling Neigh, or only Unnerve like the other fusion Pokemon we have. Or do something, because as it stands, Calyrex is a cheater. Gholdengo is the 1000th Pokemon, with a body of pure solid string chi, solid gold. Because of that, it gets special treatment in the form of its typing, signature move, and signature ability. Gholdengo is one of 2 steel ghost types in the game, the other being the Aegislash evolutionary line. Just from its typing, Gholdengo is immune to 3 other types: Poison, Fighting, and Normal. This includes Rapid Spin and Mortal Spin for hazard removal, and Fake Out and Extreme Speed for priority. As a steel type, it has the passive secondary property of taking no damage from Sandstorm and cannot be poisoned. As a ghost type, it has the passive secondary property of being immune to all forms of trapping. This means moves like Block, Mean Look, any binding move, and abilities like Shadow Tag, Arena Trap, and even Magnet Pull, which normally traps steel types. Now, this alone is pretty good, but not quite cheating territory yet. Gholdengo's signature ability is Good as Gold, an ability that makes it immune to all status moves. This means it can't be put to sleep with Spore, it can't be taunted, it can't be encored, it can't be disabled, it can't have its stats lowered with moves like Scary Face or Fake Tears, and it can't have Defog used on it to clear hazards. It can still be inflicted with status conditions as long as those status conditions are not a primary effect of a move. So if a move's secondary effect or an ability causes a status condition, Gholdengo can still be burned, paralyzed, frozen, poisoned, put to sleep, or confused. It still cannot be infatuated though, as that requires the user to be gendered, which Gholdengo is not. It can also only be poisoned if the opponent has the ability Corrosion and uses the move Fling while holding a Toxic Orb, since its Steel typing and Good as Gold ability prevent any other kind of poisoning. As good as Gholdengo might be though, I honestly don't think that any of its components are pushing the limits enough to warrant a nerf. While its defenses are good, a strong super effective move like Earthquake or Overheat don't tend to have too much trouble in one-shotting it. It also has kind of a weird speed tier, where it's not slow enough to reliably be used in Trick Room, but not fast enough to be able to outspeed anything without some form of speed control like Tailwind or a Choice Scarf. Its signature move Make It Rain also has a minor drawback in lowering its special attack by 1 stage, unlike other cheaters that I've mentioned on this list. Shedinja is the only Pokemon on this list that is not available in Scarlet and Violet, for obvious reasons. It is one of the most unique Pokemon ever made, and I actually made a short on its unique characteristics a while back, and talked about it in my recent 13 Useless Facts video. Shedinja was given the single strongest ability in the game, and I don't think it's up for debate. Wonder Guard makes the user immune to all forms of neutral and not very effective direct damage, meaning that the only way to damage Shedinja at all is by super effective direct damage or indirect damage. Indirect damage is any kind of damage that is not the primary effect of an attacking move. So secondary effects of attacking moves like recoil damage and status conditions, damaging primary effects of status moves like Leech Seed, or damaging field effects like Sandstorm Chip damage or Stealth Rock. This is balanced out by Shedinja having 1 HP no matter how much you invest in it. It is actually the only unique stat case that doesn't use the traditional stat formula. In competitive Pokemon, Shedinja either has no use at all, or it exists almost exclusively as a matchup check, meaning that if you don't have the right counterplay, you're absolutely screwed, but if you do have the right counterplay, you have nothing to worry about. The counterplay needed to be able to knock out Shedinja is having any damaging Ghost, Dark, Fire, Flying, or Rock move, or having a consistent way of dealing indirect damage like the ones I mentioned earlier. The formats where Shedinja has the most success are usually restricted formats, ones where strong legendary Pokemon like Xerneas and Kyogre are legal. These 2 restricted Pokemon in particular do not typically run any damaging moves that can touch Shedinja, so you'll need to have that counterplay somewhere else on your team, otherwise it's literally an auto loss. Like Gholdengo though, I don't think that Shedinja needs to be nerfed. You could argue that it was nerfed by not being included in Scarlet and Violet, but I think the 1 HP stat and mid other stats balance it out enough for its ability gimmick to not be overwhelmingly powerful. Weezing is a Pokemon that has been in the game ever since Red and Blue, but it wasn't really declared a cheater in my eyes until Sword and Shield. This is when Weezing was given a new ability, and a new form that also gets that ability, Neutralizing Gas. The way this ability works is Weezing basically says, "Hey, you know that ability you have? Yeah, no." Neutralizing Gas turns off all other abilities as long as Weezing is on the field, with the exception of any abilities that are responsible for changing a Pokemon's form, like Aegislash's stance change or Wishiwashi's schooling, and some other special cases as well. With how much some Pokemon rely on the use of their abilities as part of their game plan, Weezing can completely shut down some strategies. Look at Ursaluna, whose Guts boosting burn now becomes a normal attack reducing burn. Look at any terrain or weather setting Pokemon, all of which lose their entire ability gimmick. Look at Urshifu, a previous entry on this list that is now unable to hit through Protect like the rest of us peasants. Look at Calyrex, another previous entry whose as one ability is unaffected by Neutralizing Gas. Bad example. Most teams that use Weezing involve having a Pokemon with the ability shield that makes the holder able to keep its ability, or having a Pokemon with a useless or actively bad ability like Regigigas or Slacking. These are very gimmicky though, because all you have to do is remove Weezing from the battlefield or knock it out to reactivate the abilities. Without its Levitate ability, most Earthquakes or Earth Powers will knock it out in 1 or 2 hits. While it has a high defense stat, without access to any reliable form of recovery and a low HP stat, Weezing doesn't have trouble staying alive, but also doesn't have the easiest time either. This is the only entry on this list that I actually feel deserves a buff. First, starting with Weezing's ability, get rid of those exceptions. Go all out. Absolutely no abilities when Weezing is on the field. Yes, that means Palafin stays in its Zero form for as long as Weezing is out. Second, I would give Weezing a reliable form of recovery, like Slack Off or something. I don't think that these changes would be game defining, but I just think this ability is so cool that it deserves some more practical use. Smeargle is known for its signature move, Sketch, which allows it to permanently copy the last move used by the target. This means that Smeargle can learn any move in the game. Well, except for these ones. I think it's pretty straightforward why being able to learn any move in the game constitutes being a cheater Pokemon, so instead, I want to focus on Smeargle's particular interaction with Alolan Muck in doubles, quickly becoming one of the most hated strategies in the VGC format. The strategy generally goes like this. Lead off with Smeargle and Muck. Smeargle uses a combination of Fake Out, Follow Me, and Spore to allow Muck to increase its evasion with Minimize. Smeargle, with its hidden ability Moody, feints, allowing for Muck to gain the Moody ability with Power of Alchemy. Muck now has at least +2 evasion, if not +4 or +6, and gains a +2 boost in a random stat every turn at the cost of a -1 drop. Muck knocks off your item with Stab Knockoff, poisons you with Perfect Accuracy Toxic, protects to get Leftovers recovery, and stalls turns for poison. Sometimes teams like this will also throw on Flamigo to copy all of Muck's stat changes, or a Pokemon with Psych Up, which does the same thing. This is the most gimmicky strategy I'll be talking about on this list, and the most consistent counterplay is probably the move Haze. Haze is an Ice-type status move that resets all stat changes on the field, which ruins this strategy as it is highly dependent on stat changes. Blood Moon Ursaluna is also a decent counter to this strategy, as its ability ignores not only its own accuracy drops, but its opponent's evasion boosts. So Muck will probably go down to 1 Earth Power or Blood Moon, which it also can't Terra Ghost its way out of either, since this ability allows for normal and fighting type moves to hit ghost types. However, my favorite counterplay to this strategy actually involves a unique and precise controller input that you may not have heard of, which is Home followed by X and then A, used in a quick succession. And those are, in my opinion, the biggest cheaters in all of competitive Pokemon. Do you disagree with any of the entries I included, or feel that I missed any? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, I really appreciate if you watched all the way to the end. If you want to support me and my channel, the best way to do so is just by leaving a nice comment. I recently started doing early video access for members, but other than that, I currently do not have any other perks for members, so please do not join unless you really want to support me and you are financially capable of doing so. Likes are also one of the ways in which YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves it, I would appreciate it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.